Hello, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Philip Flory. Today's video build we're going to be tackling is Tamiya's Red Bull Racing. This is the RB6 kit. It's the 1/20th scale series of Formula 1 cars that they've done. A little bit older cars, we know, and everything else, but as a Mark Webber fan, I really had to pay homage to him, so I thought we'd actually do one of these. Now, I've never done one of these before, and I'm fully aware that there is an absolute plethora of aftermarket stuff to go for these types of vehicles. Personally, I'm going to do it straightforward out of the box, just to be looking mainly at doing gloss work, lacquering and things like that, because obviously we've got one hell of a colour scheme on here. But I am fully aware that obviously you can do things with carbon fibre decals, and there's lots of different various bits and pieces that you can add aftermarket for these cars, which really bring them to life. But from my point of view, what this is going to be really tackling is gloss work, lacquering, and obviously getting a perfect finish with decals and things like that, because this is what this is all about. It's all the externals on this one, so that's really where we're going to be focusing all our attentions. Just to keep us going on this one, we have some of this. We've actually got a colour match for the correct colour for the one we've used. So this is actually automotive paint. If you haven't seen us use it before, have a look at the Ducati build. That turned out absolutely 100 times better than I could have ever thought. So we've got some of that there, and we're really going to be using the same processes to do this as well. But obviously this is slightly different purely because there's a lot more of it. With the bike, it's only a couple of fairings in red. With this thing, it's going to be a lot of blue. And we've got a colour match, which is the tricky part, all of this yellow into those blue areas with the decal. So to be honest, this is why this is going to be very complex from an external point of view. Going together is going to be a quick run through. This is going to be all about actually painting, masking, and trying to create that best ever look you can get. And we're going to be following all the contours and everything else, because obviously the kit itself is just saying it's yellow here, it's blue there. We've got to make this all work and get the decals in the correct position. So really, if you're having trouble, shall we say, with glossing, with masking, and with decaling and final finishes, this is going to be the video build for you. So let's get on with it. Okay, so here we go. Now, with this particular one, a lot of it is obviously this blue work with the decaling and everything else. And as we know, we've got multiple other colours, so we've got like suspensions, things like that, which basically just blend into everything else. So what you need to do is really think ahead on this particular kit, how exactly you're going to go together. Now, being Tamiya, the instructions are pretty good, and they call it out almost in the right order. Okay, but from our point of view, what we need to do is do basically the shell and everything else, so we can paint it, seal it, lacquer it, decal it, another coat of lacquer, get that all in and sealed. So then when we come in with things like the suspension bars, with the gear and everything else like that, and the engine around the back, those can be positioned afterwards because they can be pre-painted and then joined in. Otherwise, you've just got situations where perhaps down here, we've got big markings that are going to come along the side like here, but we've got all these suspension arms to go in. So if you'd built it already, you'd have to mask all of that or paint it afterwards and everything else. And I think if you had to paint it afterwards, the only way you could really do it to get into all the angles, especially around all this front suspension, is to physically, you know, do it by hand. And I don't think it'll look very good. So what we're going to do is try and break this down and get it into a position where we can paint it all, and then it's going to be a lot of sub-assemblies afterwards, a lot like we've done the Ducati. Okay, so when we was working on the motorbike, we did the engine, the transmission, the drive, and everything else like that. Then we did all the colour stuff afterwards and bolted it all onto it. This is going to work extremely similar, but in a lot more complex way. The bike was pretty simple because you only had a couple of bits of fairing on the outside. This is obviously major body parts. So looking down on the instructions, see down here, first of all, we've got this area down here, which is obviously around the driver, which is this one here. Again, it's calling out for colours and things. A lot of this can go in afterwards. So behind the driver, we actually got the headrest area, where it's actually the little Red Bull marking back here. That's obviously going to be done afterwards, because this can go in and then the yellow section can be done. Okay, the steering wheel and things like that we're going to work on in a moment anyway. The harnesses, which actually are very nice. Couple of options. You have got decals, so you could, if you wanted to, just pop this down in there, lay it down there. Again, a little bit two-dimensional. Okay, so what we've got is these. Now, I've already done some over here. You can probably just about see them. This one's stuck down. Okay, they are arm backing. These are actually sticky. They're vinyl on the top. All right, and actually what you've got is this guy, which is fantastically done because it's photo etched, but it's on a film, so you've got no gates. You don't actually physically have to cut them out. All I found the easiest way is just come in with a knife, okay, and just pop them off. Okay, normally they just slide off. They're not sticky, all right? They are literally just like that. But the great thing about them, you don't have a gate or a sprue that you need to cut through and all those things. So we've got a couple of these little guys on here, so we can just pop these down like this. This is the last few. Okay, now we've already done some of them, all right? But actually what you've got is a situation where you have your thing. Now, good sharp pair of scissors, so we just cut these out. So all you're going to do is follow the black line, try and keep it as straight as possible. Okay, so we just got there's one, and we'll just cut down on here as well. Okay, and then we just cut this guy out, following the black lines. Okay, that's that one. And we've got the one for the harnesses on the top. So again, we're just going to cut in, around, and then trying to keep just inside, if we can, the black line. We can come round and out. Now we have used fabric harnesses on aircraft, but this is definitely my first for doing a vehicle or F1 car or anything else like that really. Okay, so that's that one around there. Then actually what we can do is just come around from the other side, hopefully, and it will meet up. Alright, so we've got this one here. Now this is the top strap, if you like. So you've got a couple of little white markings on there. Now the thing is with these white markings, it's actually the fold point, alright? So what we'll do is we'll just flip this over, and then you just want to remove the backing. So if you've got some nails, you should be able to peel the front from the back, or if not, you can pop a knife in there. Usual thing with this, as we all know, done this all the other times, no problem. So there we go. Now this is sticky, so this guy down here, and the easiest way I've been finding this is to use tweezers to hold them, because my fingers are a little bit big. So all we're going to do is actually just slide this guy in and through. Okay, that's in. Then all we do is fold it squarely back on itself. Not so bad on this one. Okay, so that's one in like that. Then we've got another one for this bottom section. Okay, just make sure you fold it to the correct way. And again, it's all about, that one we didn't fold very well at all. Let's just try that again. Okay, nice and straighten out as best you can. That's a better fold line. Okay, and it's down on here. Now it is fabric, so you can actually twist, roll it up, bend it, and all the different things to this one, literally just to warm it up. Okay, then the last guy we got just down on here. As I say, use a nice sharp pair of scissors for doing this, otherwise you can end up with a few problems with it tearing and shredding and all the rest of it. Okay, so we're just gonna, this guy. Okay, and this one, because this one's going to join to the bottom one. Just move that all out of the way. Okay, and then peel the backing off. So we've got the thin end just down on this one. And again, we're just going to grab on the tweezers. Now if you make these a little bit too long, what will happen is that they can not work that well. If you do get a little bit of white, I wouldn't worry too much about that. You can actually either reposition from the blind side, and that's why it's nice to use a nice sharp pair of scissors, or just cut them. There we go. With a knife you can just trim in, and then this bottom one is going to come on, but it's actually going to come up from the inside. Okay, so it's actually going to come up and in, and then what I did was we're just going to roll this guy over without it sticking itself. Okay, so this is your sort of traditional pull one. A little bit closer. Let me just see if we can slip it downwards Just trying to bring it down just a little bit, fold over, and there we go. And then that gives us our harnesses. So we've got one on the top, two for the top, just like this. Then we've got a couple of ones from the side coming in, which is that side, and then this side. Okay, around this way. And then this guy is one of the bottom ones which is going to come up, which is going to be like that. And again, we just peel the back off of this. Okay. And this is a yellow one, so actually what you've got is a nice mark. Let's reseat that because that's a terrible fold. Okay, you can get hold of it. That's a better one. Okay, and these are the bottom ones coming up. It's a little bit off, but we can adjust it just like that. Okay, and that does our seat one. The other option, if you wanted it closed, you've actually got here, we just hoof this off. We've actually got this guy, which if you wanted to, you can close it up with, and then it all locks together using this one. And what happens is this guy on over here comes over and goes in the center one, and then obviously you would attach, instead of all these buckles separately, they will just go through here, so it appears as if it's one giant bolt on there. But I do like those. I think they're really, really nice. Now, a couple of other things we've done. We've popped these guys down in here. All right, so they're in, which to be honest is these here. Okay, so you've got parts D3 and D37. They just fit in the end there. D20 is one of the first bulkheads going in because the inside needs to be black. So we can paint the seat, we can do that. We can actually get the steering wheel done, the column, all the bulkheads and everything done black on the inside. The other thing as well, we're actually putting on the actual intakes for the radiators now because they can glue in, and obviously we're looking for sort of perfection on those ones. And I've already dry fitted this guy and we know it's okay. So what we're going to do, preload that area with glue. And being Tamiya, these are actually a very nice fit indeed. So they just go in, tiny bit more glue, just to make sure it all welds in and goes round. But they fit in there nice. Just get rid of the glue marks just off the top. And that's what those ones are in. We've also done this guy on the next page. Okay, so this is this one over here, opening up the two holes in the beginning. All right, so we've opened up them and we've popped this together, so that's in there. So what we need to do now is put on these little guys here, B14, B13, which to be honest are these ones, which are just the angle ones, need a little bit of cleanup, and they're going to go up and put those in because all of that is going to be sprayed yellow. So they're going to be technically this area at the front. The camera on the top obviously will go in afterwards because it's going to be black and all those things. So actually we've done down here, as you can imagine, by the time we've got these two on, we're not going to put these on because these are all in black, and again it's not going to fit in. And as you can see up here, it's talking about placing the decal. So what we're going to do is work our way forward through the actual building everything we can. So we can do the wheel section, that's pretty straightforward, going to put those on. But again, we can't really do much around the back end of the engine because we need the engine to be painted as a separate as it is up here. Okay, so we can get this painted, then we can actually add all the black parts and everything in and build them all sub-assemblies and working its way through. So it's just a case of looking ahead slightly, just to making sure you're all happy of how it's going to go through and when you're going to paint it and all the bits and pieces. Because this guy down here, to be honest, we've got the inner part. This is going to have to come up. I think it comes in from the bottom, or is it from the top? Not sure which one or the other. Okay, I think it's from the bottom. All right, so this guy will have to be fitted first, and we can get this one up. There we go, it's going to drop in there like that, making sure again we've got a very nice finish with it and everything else. It's all locked in there, joined in there, everything else like that. So we do come for painting, we can just paint it as a whole again. So we've all got everything sort of lined up, looking nice and all those things. There is exceptions to it because obviously you've got the yellow as it bends down the back here. We've got to bend it down on here, but we can do this as a separate, so when this guy fits in, obviously it's all in there, all ready to go, just like that. So as I said, with this one, it's just a case of thinking ahead, getting your sub-assemblies together, which is what I'm going to do now. We can get those put in, put together, glued up, and then we can work our way through the painting stages of all the different parts and then put them together as a whole at the end. Okay, so we've moved on quite a bit, got lots of parts laid out and we're working our way through them. First up, we're going to take care of some sanding work on this one. So as you might see, this is the major part at the top. You're going to see this one. Unfortunately, you have this system where you have two little lugs go in there and it pushes against, which is great because it spreads the weight and you can get hold of it without putting stress on this joint. Unfortunately, the joint isn't brilliant. So the way we did this one, we glued it up, let it go for a couple of hours, and then we came back in with a little bit of liquid styrene. Obviously it's our homemade brew, you've seen it, but any fella will really do. And then what we're going to do is just pop in with, we've got the other one, here it is, a fine sanding stick to start with, just to take off the high areas. This is purely because on here especially we've used quite a bit of glue because it has to be perfect. So the way I look at it is by over gluing it and over filling it and everything else like that, you've allowed for shrinkage, and this has been sat for a couple of days and is absolutely fine. Okay, so we're just popping it down and we're looking for it all to turn universal. So we're not looking for dark spots, we're not looking for light spots, we're looking for it to all look very similar. Okay, and then once we're to that, we can give up with the actual stick and we're going to move in now with the actual sponge itself. So core side first, this will stop us getting a flat edge, if you like. So we just pop this right the way over. When we're looking nice, we're just going to flip over to the more polishing side. Okay, I'm just going to run around with that. And what you're looking for is it to actually come out pretty perfect. You might see we've got some little light dots in there, things like that. That's probably fillet in there. So what we're going to do to check, we're just going to come in, going to wet the polishing sponge and we're going to polish this up. Again, this is one of those areas where you're going to see it, so you do not want any type of lines or anything else. So if this takes 2-3 coats of filler, 4, 5, whatever it takes, make sure you get it done because otherwise you're going to see this. Now we're going to polish it back up and then we can see what we've got. Okay, so we're just going to come in and we polish that over and then we're looking down. Now obviously we've got little white spots in there, but that's probably filler, but generally that's taken care of that very nicely, no problem at all. Okay, so we're happy how that is. We're just looking around, looks like we've got a couple of scratch marks in the sides. We've got a little bit of glue just run over the sides a little bit. So we're just going to make sure we come in. I'll take care of those in a moment, but basically making sure it's perfect in every way. We put on these little side pods. Again, they're actually quite a nice fit. You have got a small little glue marks down there, you catch them in the light. Again, we're going to attack those with skinny polishers just to make sure they're okay and polish those out. And they're all good. Okay, exactly the same. It's going to go for the top here. This is the rear part, which is the guy that's going to sit on down the back here like this. Okay, again, that needs to be perfect. That seam, there's a little seam line on there, so that's going to need polishing. And to be honest, the front one, which is the one that goes on here, isn't too bad at all. There is a small little line down there, so we're going to have to polish that one out. But because it is that's so much of a top area on the actual car, it needs to be taken care of and make our way through. Okay, so down here, to be honest, we've got the pan system itself. We put in those areas and we've masked this up because we've got two colours. So we've got a buff board colour down here. This is for the plank that runs along the bottom, okay? And then up in here, this back area is going to be silver. So we've masked those up and taken care of those. We've done those. We've got the engine done as well. And to be honest, these have all been primed in the surface primer from Vallejo. Now, if I'm honest, I'm not a massive fan of this. I prefer the Steinel Res version, but because it's black, it works in our favour because we can use it as our base colour because it's black under here everywhere else. So that was the reason for doing it. So actually what we're going to do, we've got a couple of metal areas to take care of. So when we look at the instructions, we're trying to paint this all as we go. As you can see, we've got a metal area in here. Now, although we've done this black already, it's going to be easier to actually paint the silver first, mask the silver, and then do the black work again, okay? But because it's got this stuff going down, really I would recommend a primer, so it's not going to hurt, okay? So we can do that one, and we can do this base area at the same time. We can do those silver. Then we were just looking around generally and looking, and as you can see down in the exhaust scoop areas here, which are, if I remember rightly, it's these two. We've got two lots of them down here somewhere. One goes on the back of the engine. Looking ahead. Oh, where are we? Okay, this is the ones. So we've got the radiators, so these are going to be black, which is the bottom part here, which we've taken off and we've got those done. But the top half is going to be a metal colour, so that's why we've got those out, so we can paint them silvers as well, okay? And then generally we're just looking down ahead just to see what we've got. And as I said, down here we've got these guys down the bottom. These are going to be obviously black on the outside, but they're going to be silver on the inside, okay? Or they're giving a generic code for silver. We're going to play with a multitude of different colors we got down here just to improve on that look and everything else. But the same is on the same these here, which are these ones, okay, which is D15 and D16, which go on here. Again, they're going to be black on the outside and silver on the inside. So what I'm thinking is we'll do all the silver now, paint all those areas, get the engine done, we can get the exhaust pipes done on all those areas like that. Then we can do the black work on the outside, which will be easier because we can just mask a silver, and then that way we can then start to come in and put a lot of this together. So what you want to do really is look ahead and see exactly what we got, because this is going to be a big old paint job with a lot of it in. So as you can see down here, we've got the brake areas and everything else, the duct system. We've done all of those, so those can be painted up at the same time. We've got the black work and silver on some of the struts, so we can do the silver, mask it, then do the black work afterwards. And the same on all of these. So there's lots of parts when you start to look around here that have to be the same color. Okay, so it makes sense to paint them all at the same time. So we're going to work somewhat backwards. We're going to clear this away. We're going to get all the parts cut out, put them all down here, get them all down. That way we can actually start, right, okay, we're going to go through the silvers. So we can use a couple of coats of silvers, get them down, get them painted, moved off, okay? Then we can come in with the black and then do all the other areas black afterwards, which will just be a lot easier. But to be honest, when you look through this and you start to make your way through, suddenly you're thinking, got a lot of black work. Down here we've got the underside for the nose, for the actual front wing system as it goes through. The underside, as you can see, is in black as well, so we can get that painted. But it is just one of those things. We've even got the rear spoiler. Some of the lower parts are going to be in black, so again we might as well get those painted and we can put them through at the same time and all the different areas. And it's just one of those things. Even we got the little side sort of barge ones on the side here, those are in black as well, so that's another area. I didn't even see that as we're making our way through. So what that enables us to do is once they're all painted, we've got all the silver and all the black work done, then we can come back, concentrate on doing the blue, the gloss work on these guys, because this will all be dry and everything else like that, okay? And then it's going to be a case of putting it somewhat together, decaling, getting it all together. But actually this should come together really quickly, because once we've got all these parts done and painted, it's just going to be pure assembly. So what I'm going to do, get this all cleared away. We're going to get some paper down in here. I'll show you about painting some of them. The rest of them I'll do in the spray bait and everything else like that, and then we can come together and then do the black work, take care of all of those, because to be honest, the inside of the actual cockpit area and inside the nose, that's got to be done in black as well and everything else, so we can do those. And then we can start thinking about, right, okay, that's happy, we're good with all of that. Then we can come in and start doing the blue work on the body parts, all as a separate, okay? So that will be done, glossed, deckled and everything else, and then bring them together. Okay, so we've got down here, make a little bit of space, got some little parts here. This is for the silver work. So for this one, we're going to go with just straightforward aluminium. This is for the metal coat stuff. To be honest, this stuff, it's really, really good, but you need to play with it a little bit. Now, I've only done very little bits with it, small parts we did in on test, things like that. But what I'm learning is to gently build this stuff up. Do not get anything wet with it, okay? And when we say wet, that means putting down a heavy coat. This does come out your airbrush quite quick. It is ready to spray. Definitely don't thin it, otherwise you're going to end up with loads of trouble. But if we show you down here, I've got a little bit left in here. Okay, so what you want to do is literally light, dusty coat, okay, and then let it dry, and then come over and do something else. So to be honest, we've got to do the inside of these, but like there, that was a little bit too heavy, just about caught it in time. But if you go in too heavy, it tends to pucker up. And when I say pucker up, it tends to tear, it dries and pulls itself apart and everything else like that. Also, this is onto neat plastic, which is a real naughty. You shouldn't do this. This is why we're doing a very light pass first, then come in. Everything that I've done primed, we haven't had a problem with. But if you do come in and you use this stuff when it's not totally ready, you can end up with real problems, okay? Once you've got a coat down, it's not so bad, okay? And I do like this colour. It is very nice, and we'll show you in a moment with a couple of parts we've already done. But it's probably the best acrylic. Can I mark the other? Yes, it is. Let's just retouch that in. It's probably the best acrylic metalizer finish I've used. purely because it's got that sort of almost pearlescent look to it. And once you've got a coat of this down, or it's on a good coat of primer, you can actually hit this quite hard. I mean, you can flood it, tends to self-level, back off. If you're doing it onto neat plastic though, like for instance, if we was to just come off now and try something in here, for instance, and give it a coat, what's going to happen is it will physically tear apart and you'll have a black where you can see the plastic coming through it. Now, we've done a few of the other bits so we can show you. You might notice down here, I've got a fingerprint in it, if I'm honest, which I'm a little bit knocked about, but on this side, as you can see, it has got a really nice look to it. It's got that sort of pearlescent, it's catching the studio light, so we've got blues in there, we've got the pink hues and all those things. And this is straight over primed. This was primed with, to be honest, their own primer. Put this on the top, worked extremely well. And to be honest, that was quite a heavy coat right over it, okay? We've done exactly the same down here. So we've got it on the underside here. This is just straightforward aluminium. And on the other side, we've done the board, the plank running right the way down. We've masked up and done that one. But this is the all important color up here. Again, I went really heavy here. My airbrush coughed, if you want for a better word, i.e. it suddenly put on a lot of paint and then came back again. And to be honest, it's dry already, and I only did this 10 minutes ago, but it leveled back. Originally when I looked at it, I thought I'm gonna have to sand that back and start again, but no, it's actually cleared quite well. Overspray wise, just be careful when you're doing silver, because I'm sure we'll see it here. You can see you've got a little bit of overspray just down in that area, you catch it in the light, so just be careful when you're doing metallic, because you do tend to have that trouble. So what we're going to do now, let those dry off for around about half an hour, okay? Then we're going to mask up around this engine area and we're going to spray the rest of it black, okay? That way we can flip these guys over because they've got a little bit of overspray and we can do those in black. And if they get a black on the inside, it doesn't matter too much because, to be honest, you're not going to see that. I'm not planning on having this thing uncovered and all the rest of it. One thing I will say though, when you're putting the lids up and down, just be careful how you close them, because I do find if you have them pointing at you, they tend to spit a little bit at you and you end up getting covered in the stuff. So there's a design fault with those caps. But that is the aluminium colour. It sprays, it goes down absolutely lovely. And as you can see now, these are drying off, looking very much the part, very metally, very shiny and everything else like that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get the rest of these out. I'm going to stand these up in here, okay, just whilst they dry off. We're going to get anything else that needs to be metal colour sprayed up and done right now, okay, and then we've got to get some of these smaller parts off of the trees down here for this to be sprayed black. Personally, you could spray it on the actual thing here, but I've got to get the exhaust pipes off and stuff like that, and we've got to get a few other little things built and everything so they can be sprayed black at the same time. But generally, I must admit, very nice. And just over here, forgot about these guys. We did these as well. These are the radiators. Again, very nice, shiny black. You know, it's just the aluminium we're using on these. Nothing fancy, none of the other colours. We're going to do a little bit with those with the exhaust pipes, because I intend to do a little bit of weathering, that bluing effect, the red, the purples and everything else like that with the exhaust. But as you can probably see down here, I don't know how well the light catches it, you tend to get a very nice finish with these metal paints. So really happy with these. So I'm going to get these bits done, sorted, get all the bits in, we'll come back, mask up and we'll get the black work done.